Hey everybody, my name is Andrew Copeland and welcome to another episode of the Taproom Success Podcast. I'm joined by my buddy Carrie Shumway, all the way up in New Hampshire. Is it starting to feel like spring, maybe almost summery up in your neck of the woods?
It is starting to feel that way. It's beer and cornhole season up here. I don't know if you're a cornhole player, but it's
Not
all
as
the
good as
rage.
you at cornhole.
It's like the perfect game to drink a beer, because you can only use one hand, so you have to counterbalance with a beer in your left if you're right-handed, and then you throw the cornhole. So yeah, we have beautiful weather. One of our local tap rooms here does Thursday night cornhole, so I'm very excited for that. Get out there, get some sun, have a few beers, visit with my buddies, and yeah, it's weather's looking good finally.
Hopefully all our friends with tap rooms out there are seeing a lot of people in those patios and in your house these days too, just to, enjoy and take advantage of the beautiful weather.
That's right. This is the time. Get out there, drink that beer, have a good time.
And make money, right? Because that's
Yeah.
why we're all doing this. I mean, we want to talk about today, like how we all can actually make money in your brewery businesses. So, Carrie, I know we talk a lot about tactics and strategies for tap rooms to increase sales and products, but if you boil it down, how do breweries actually make money?
Yeah, and I like the question because it's like I'm not sure we really ponder that, right? We think about the next beer that we want to brew or maybe a it's all sort of in service of making money, but it's somewhat disconnected because we don't really know. We're going to do all these things and we're not really sure if that actually made us any money. So I had a back in the day, we had a one of our bankers kind of sit down and we were reviewing our financial statements, and he said something to me that has stuck with me all these years later, and he says, "Look, you need to find out where in your business you make money and you need to protect it with your life." And I was like, "Wow, that's a deep statement, and there's a lot of wisdom in that, I think, because as business owners, I'm not sure we always really know." And you know, one of the things that I took from that was like, all right, what's a simple system that we could use to figure out where in our business we actually make money? And if we boil it all down, there's only two ways to make money. It's through products and through customers. So for people listening, I would encourage you to think about like, what are your most profitable products? And for your customers, who are your most profitable customers? And that's such a simple statement, but I challenge people to say, do you actually know? Like a lot of breweries that, like when I'm working with them, they don't really know what products are making money or making more than the other or this and that. And, if you're in the tap room, think about all the products that you sell. I mean, we talk about flights all the time. We talk about events and mug clubs and loyalty programs and, small pours and half pours and this, that, and the other. And what actually makes you money? Because if you look at it, there's very different, financial outcomes in each of those products. So as a first step, I'd say, where do you actually make money? I'd start by looking at that. And then on your customers, kind of going back to who are your most, if you're distributing, boy, there's a lot of variability in whether you make money at this retail account versus that. But if your customers walking in, there's different value there as well. Those people that you can bring back more frequently, and that again comes back to that, enhancing the loyalty programs and giving people rewards to come back more often.
You mentioned something I was going to chime in with. You talk about, understanding where you're making the most money on the financial side, but you can't just say, well, who's your audience? Oh, it's everybody who drinks beer. That's not your audience. You really need to know exactly who's coming in. And when you can pinpoint it on the financial side, you can pinpoint it on the guest side, you can strengthen your business by better understanding your business, right? So many breweries, they'll sell their beer at the tap room and at wholesale. So, Carrie, what are some best practices to actually find out where they are making the money?
Yeah. The other thing we talk about is sometimes the best way to make more money is to stop losing money in a certain aspect of your business. And I've looked at hundreds of brewery financial statements at this point, and not all the time, but almost all the time, we're not making any money on the wholesale side of the equation. So I would start by, if you're using QuickBooks or whatever your, financial accounting software is, run, try to run an income statement to look at what you're doing through your tap room versus wholesale. Just start with that. And QuickBooks uses something called classes. So you can set up a tap room class, you can set up a wholesale class. And the idea is to assign sales, cost of goods, and operating expenses accordingly. Like what are the taproom sales, cost of goods and expenses? What are the wholesale sales, cost of goods and expenses? And see what your picture looks like. And for me, 8 to 9 times out of 10, taproom's making money. Wholesale is either losing money or just barely breaking even. So when you can identify this, at least you know. I mean, it's your decision as a business owner how you want to proceed and whether you can take advantage of that. But first is like seek first to understand and use those classes to really break out and look at the economics of different aspects of your business. And take it one step further too within the tap room. If you do food, we talk about this a lot, is the margin dynamics are very different there. So breaking out your food from your other products or your tap room to see how you're really doing.
Awesome. So now let's dive a little bit deeper. You talked about the importance of brewery owners understanding the cost to make beer. How do you advise folks to actually do this? And I am hoping you've got a spreadsheet for us to share as well.
Believe it or not, I do. Well, the way you said that,
No way.
the way you said you were hoping, it didn't sound like you were really hoping. Are you sincere with that? Are you
Well,
hoping?
I'm always sincere, but when you do something every single time, I just don't get excited about it as much anymore. But did you see that? I texted you the other day. I was going through a little library, quick aside, in our neighborhood, and there was a book on like for kids to be accountants, which was like literally a kid's book on accountants. I opened it up, and it's like being an accountant is fun, and you're the first person I thought of. And there was not a spreadsheet on that page, but it still made me think of you.
Oh, well, it makes me sad that my spreadsheets don't work for you anymore. I'm gonna have to do what would help if I had more color, graphs,
Maybe more
charts,
colors, perhaps. Maybe some illustrations. You
illustrations.
could maybe make like a cartoon version of yourself there to, help people out. I think it was like Word or Excel. They had like some little character you could click if you needed something when you were doing your product years ago. I want a little Carrie there to help me along.
Okay, we'll work on that. All right, but back to the meat of your question. Like, how do you, what I find is that most people don't really understand the products and what the cost of goods sold are. So the cost of goods sold is really tricky. Excuse me, but if we break it down, you know, step one is what does it cost to make your beer? So we think about what are the direct materials, what's the direct labor, and what's the overhead. So everybody generally understands direct materials. So the hops and the grains and the packaging material that goes in, we can touch it, feel it, count it. Direct labor, a little murkier, but that's anything that's involved in the production and packaging of your beer. It's your brewers, your assistants, your cellar people, managers or not, salaried or hourly, it doesn't matter. If they're essential to make the beer, that cost goes into it. And then overhead it is a myriad of things, but we generally say like keep it simple, like allocate your rent expense and allocate your utilities. Like get your big expenses in there. And then you can just divide the total number of barrels that you sold into that pool of dollars and you get a very simple calculation. But it's at least a starting point. So the spreadsheet that I have that, that may or may not get you excited, I'll put some color in it, is really just saying like, what are your brands and what are the packages and what are the related costs for each of these? Because if we look at them, the margin calculation can be quite different between, say, half barrels and sixtels, 12 packs and 4 packs, 16 ounce, blah, blah, all the different configurations. So what are you selling? What are you selling most of? What are the different packages? And then assigning those costs. And then once you have that, then you just compare it to what you're selling it for. Now, at wholesale, this is a critical exercise to run because your margins are much thinner, even self-distribution or wholesale. So you really need to do this exercise to know. And a lot of the brewery softwares that we look at don't necessarily pull in all this information. They do a good job with direct materials, not so much with labor and overhead. So you do need a mechanism, and this fancy dancy spreadsheet can do that for you.
Very good, very good. So we like to give people some actionable steps that they can take. What's something you recommend to help owners and managers actually make money in their business?
Well, you're going to like this part, Andrew, because there's two book recommendations and to go with those three ideas. The first idea is to use the one thing approach. And as you might imagine, this is based on the book The One Thing. And really the subtitle is a surprisingly simple truth behind extraordinary results to achieve your goals. Now, really what you're doing is it's all about focus. And now what I see happening time and again, and I'm not exempt from this, is that we lose focus, right? We get caught in the minutia. We love complexity. We love to chase down and put out fires. You know, we love emails and texting. We just get distracted. So the one thing starts really with what is your one most important thing, setting a target on that and watching it and protecting it with your life. So I often just say, let's cut to the chase. Your one most important thing is profitability. Call it what you want, net operating income, those fancy EBITDA letters. But start with your one thing, your one number. What is your net operating income and what is your target? Where do you need to be? And track against that thing religiously. So that's one idea for you to take away. The second is to have an actual financial roadmap, a plan, a budget. Most breweries do not have one. They've started, they haven't finished, or they finished, but they don't use it, or they never quite got going. And I get it. It's hard. It can be really boring. It can be really exciting once you get into it. But to build and follow that financial roadmap. The third thing, and second book recommendation, is The Great Game of Business. We've talked about this before, open book management and all the concepts there. In holding financial huddles, we tend to be what we focus on. So if we're focusing on the financial outcomes and understanding and learning and educating and including our team, we're much more likely to get the outcome that we want. So how do we actually make money? We got to focus on actually doing it. So just to recap, you know, look at your products, look at your customers, really drill down and understand, include your staff, do these financial huddles, have one number that you're tracking. I recommend that it be your profitability, your net operating income, and watch it every day. You can't, this isn't something you can watch every 6 weeks to 6 months. No, it's got to be literally every day. What are you doing towards that goal? And when you come up a little short, what are you going to do tomorrow to make up the difference? And this is what all successful companies do is they identify their critical targets, they watch them like a hawk, they close those gaps quickly and consistently, and they include people that can make a difference in achieving those financial outcomes. So, Great Game of Business is really a roadmap to help you do that.
Awesome, Carrie. Lots and tips and recommendations there. So thank you very much. I'll be on the lookout for your more colorful spreadsheets in the near future.
It's something I'm working on. It's actually not. I'm such a black and white guy. I'm like, nah, I don't need any color in there. Just kind of stick to the numbers, and I might put some cool formatting in there, but that's about all you're gonna get.
Well, Gary, I've enjoyed our conversation today. And for everyone who's interested in joining the conversation with Carrie and I and others from across the country in the Taproom space, that is a Taproom Success membership for you. We talk about spreadsheets, we talk about events, we talk about ways that you can see greater success. Each month we have a mastermind. I love that. We bring in an industry expert. In June, we're bringing someone in to talk about menus. We've got a lot of things we're going to be rolling out in the coming months to help you stay focused. But once again, you can check out more at taproomsuccess.com. And everybody, we hope to see you soon. Cheers.